here, I was nurtured here. I was an alcoholic that became a dope fiend, you know? And this community healed me. Thank you, Sister Mary, for your palabras, for your amor, for your kindness. Because that spirit that she spoke about was what healed me. And that spirit that I have today is very, very rich. Con corazón, I have a very rich corazón, a very rich heart, a very rich soul, a very rich mind. And because of all that life experience and work I've done, that's why I'm here today. Thank you.
Buenas noches a todos, Doshatsi, Mismachawi. I am Jackie Fielder. I am proud granddaughter of Native American and Mexican grandparents. Donald was single mother. Whether it's fighting Wall Street to pass the first municipal public bank law in the nation, whether it is going toe-to-toe with the most real estate-backed politician in California, Scott Wiener, whether it is teaching in the College of Ethnic Studies at the age of 25. As a woman of color, I have had to work 10 times as hard to get everything I've earned, which is why I will work 10 times as hard to get your votes. I'm running against the apathy and greed that has led to displacement, abandonment, and criminalization of the most vulnerable people in our community. My mom raised me to give what we can to those with less, no matter how little we had, to stand up to those abusing their power, which is why I continue to be the person calling out the guy who isn't here, who is a corporate lobbyist. Whether I'm your first choice or your last choice, si eres Latino, lucharé por tu derecho a prosperar en esta ciudad. Gracias.
Good afternoon, my name is Steven Torres. I am here standing before you seeking to be your representative here in District 9. I am a 19-year resident of District 9. I've lived in San Francisco for 25 years. I am a veteran of the service industry, the nightlife industry, and I've worked in community organizing, especially in the Cultural District program with Mary over here. I want to reiterate that we stand here before you with special significance because this is the Latino community and we have to be accountable to you. This is where we come from. And I came here, like so many, seeking belonging. I was born in Los Angeles. I came here as a queer youth, seeking belonging, and I think that this is what our community is also seeking, is safety and belonging, and that we need to support that moving forward.
Hi, I'm H. Brown. I'm a retired reform school teacher, and I'm an idea man. I'm 80 years old. I was a sailor for 6 years, had 3 top secret clearances. I taught and coached for 45 years. I was a firefighter for 5 years. But the ideas I have for this campaign, I've been in San Francisco 45 years, but the ideas I have for this campaign, first of all, how about the Ohlone? Let's give them the mint. I've proposed that San Francisco buy the mint. It's for sale, about $200 million. You can do it with a certificate of participation, right, Jackie? You can cover that. And give it to the Ohlone and match it, the city matches it. Make casinos there in Alcatraz. Let's put our money, we made gay marriage, didn't we? Let's make Indian gambling.
Thank you very much. Sorry for that. So thank you. Just to remind you, try to just stick to the 1 minute that you have, then we can you can answer more questions for these people that is here trying to hear from you. And for these first questions that we have, it's a very important issue. It says, are you a renter or a homeowner? And how does that impact your ability to advocate for tenants in the district? And
and I'm going to answer this in Spanish, then our audience understand. La pregunta es si las personas que están compitiendo como candidatos rentan o son dueños de propiedad y cómo esto impacta su habilidad de ser, pues de luchar por las personas que rentan aquí en este distrito. And we're going to go to the other side, and we're going to start in the opposite direction now. Then we give you fair time. H. Brown, you're the first, and then...
Give me the question again.
Yes, I will give you the question again. Are you a renter or a homeowner, and how does this impact your ability to advocate for renters for tenants in these districts?
I'm a renter. I've been a homeowner back in St. Louis, but I've been a renter, but I've done an awful lot of fighting here as a tenant. I've run up against the Housing Authority, remember, it's got 5,000 vouchers out there. They just got another 880 from the federal government. But they are a crooked outfit. Did you know that Jim Jones used to be the head of the Housing Authority? I mean, it's whoever has the biggest busloads of people becomes the head of the housing authority. Anyway, they tried to evict me. I put together a case, and 145 of them got fired.
Yes, I am a renter. I've had to fight 2 unlawful evictions and 1. I am also a tenant in the city's small sites program. And whereas I do believe in the small sites program, I believe that it also requires additional reforms and that we need to increase tenants' protections and advocacy. A lot of people don't realize that those in public housing do not have the same protections as regular tenants. So I am committed to ensuring expanded protections for tenants through legislation and otherwise.
I'm a renter. I don't think I will ever make enough to be able to afford a home in San Francisco, which is why I will fight for housing that seniors, homeless folks, working people can afford to rent, 100% affordable housing wherever possible. But the question is always affordable for whom? And the real estate lobby has had control of the city's housing policy for decades. They were the ones behind the displacement of thousands of Latinos in this neighborhood. They say affordable housing is only for people who can afford 6 figures. And I challenge the most real estate-backed politician in California, Scott Wiener, who was behind an attempt to convert condos, affordable housing to condos. In addition to fighting the bad, we have to fight for the good, which includes putting our money where our mouth is. If we do not invest in affordable housing, it will not be built. As a renter, I will fight for all of this, as well as rent control, strong tenant protections, and I will fight to reverse gentrification and displacement through an anti-gentrification act. Thank you.
I moved around for many, many years, and I'm blessed. I am a homeowner. I got an opportunity to buy a house here in San Francisco, here in the Mission District, for $179,000. Unbelievable. That was over 20 years ago. And I have fought against evictions, gentrification. That was part of MAC, Mission Anti-Displacement Coalition. I am the co-founder of Our Mission No Eviction with Eric Aguayo, who's here today. Many of you have been part of Our Mission No Eviction, where we fought over 27,000 evictions here in the Mission. We won 17,000, and we're able to save 17,000 people, but we lost 10,000 people. That work, I've also been part of building and leading the fight to build affordable housing, and I'm proud to say with Our Mission No Eviction, we've been able to build over 1,400 units, and we'll continue doing that work. Thank you.
Of course, it's obvious I'm a renter. So one of my experiences, especially with rental units and tenants' rights, is that I work at Rancho Grande Appliances ever since I was born. So for almost 27 years, I have talked to thousands of tenants and thousands of landlords and thousands of property owners. And at one point, it kind of makes sense of what's the problem. The problem is there is no rent cap, and the property taxes are only continuously getting higher. That's why we need to move our property tax to a land use tax. It's simple. And we got to stop continuously with this, I guess, YIMBY or neo-colonial mindset of we gotta build, we gotta build, we gotta build. Yes, we gotta build, okay? But we gotta build right. We gotta build what we need and what is useful, not just build and put, all right, 25% low income and the rest luxury housing. How's that gonna work? Because little by little, that whole thing is gonna be luxury housing. Because the tenants, the property owners, they're gonna find a way to make that expensive. Thank you.
My name is Dawg. I am a renter as well. I've lived in the same unit for a long, long time, and I'm very, very fortunate to be able to still be in the city that I was born in. As far as doing my job as a supervisor, I will try to fight against the real estate industry, trying to raise rates, and also corporate interests, corporates buying up properties and keeping them empty to do whatever. I mean, if we want to solve a housing crisis here, we can actually do it through renting and not building. So I think it's a good deal to look into that, and I will do everything in my power to fight for that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we're going to the next question, which is presented by the San Francisco Latino Democratic Club. And this question says, how are you going to support and build Latino power in a time when Latinos are under attack in San Francisco? Esta pregunta es presentada por San Francisco Latino Democratic Club, el Club Democrático Latino de San Francisco, y preguntan cómo es que ustedes van a apoyar y construir el poder latino en un tiempo en el que los latinos están bajo ataque en la ciudad de San Francisco. Vamos a comenzar ahora de nuevo de este lado. Jaime Gutiérrez.
So, yeah, I can remember being a kid. Jaime Gutierrez again, yes. I can remember being a kid, and this was definitely a Latino neighborhood. Through gentrification and other things, we're not quite that way anymore. But in order to, how would you say it, apoyar the Latino community, I think we could do it through unionism. We could get people jobs through the union, working for the city or working for other union outfits or starting unions, excuse me. One of the proudest union moments is getting the unions in the fast food industry, and that's happened in the last few years. But through unionism, we can create subsidies that would possibly help people pay their rents and keep them here rather than send them to other places. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Julian Bermudez, and it's simple. It's doing exactly what I'm doing right now. You don't really see a lot of Latino representation anywhere, especially at City Hall. It came to a time that when I was talking to people like, you brave enough to do that? But why? I'm like, it's not that hard. I mean, it is hard speaking in front of people, thinking, writing, blah, blah, blah. But I have ran into way more qualified people. But the only thing that holds them back is the imaginary barrier that they put in front of them. And me being up here, being, hey, the barrier's not that bad. In 4 years, this competition for District 9 will be even heavier. Probably for District 10 and District 11 as well. And that's one thing that I aim for, is to be the plow that brings in this new era of leadership of San Francisco, born and raised, so we can finally bring our city into a new era and out of this doom loop colonizers want to call it.
I'm an organizer at heart. Cesar Chavez and Dolores trained me when I was a youngster. And I've been involved with statewide to get driver's license and IDs for immigrants. I've been involved with many movements, and how we need to build Latino power is we need to get Latinos on every single commission in San Francisco and every city department. We need to have Latinos as department heads. If you currently count how many Latinos we have in department heads, you have fingers left over. And so that's what's the important part is that we take, as elected individuals, utilize our positions to be able to advocate and to ensure that Latinos get into positions of power that are the decision makers that impact our community. Thank you.
I believe in ground-up governance, and this campaign isn't about one person. Whoever is elected has to bring the entire community with them to City Hall. We have to fight for the most vulnerable people in our community. To me, that is homeless Latinos and American Indians. That is people struggling with substance use disorder. That is people, our immigrant families who, there are 900 plus people on the wait list for immigration legal defense in the city. Immigration legal defense lawyers get paid $70,000 a year. They were burnt out. We have numerous families newly arrived from other countries seeking asylum. And just today we had horrible news that Biden administration said that they're going to close down the border to anyone seeking asylum. We need to fund immigration legal defense. We need to fund family housing for families who cannot find shelter, who cannot find permanent supportive housing. We need to make culturally competent, multilingual, accessible education and treatment, all modes of treatment for people struggling with substance use disorder. Thank you.
We absolutely need to support our immigrants. We need to provide food, resources, and accessibility. We need to provide medication, resources, and accessibility. We cannot build Latino power without a Latino community, and they're trying to drive out the Latino community by pulling the resources away from this community. They are also trying to divide us. And if we do not hold each other accountable, if we do not stop gatekeeping within our own community, we are destined to be eradicated from this community as well. We need to build coalitions together. We need to fight together. That includes native-born, that includes immigrants, that includes indigenous, it includes us all. If we are truly going to build Latino power, we need to do it together.
Talk to somebody next to you and get their name, and if you've got it in you, get their address and make a contact with them. That's the number one thing in the world is organization. That's what separates us from the rest of the animals. Our languages makes us able to get together in large groups. The land you're sitting on, we're hearing it over and over, was the Ohlone land. I don't know who was here before that. I know that they were murdered by the Spanish, and then the Texans or whatever, the whites came in and did them in. Then this was Irish before. But get together, tie yourselves together, meet somebody, organize. Groups, that's what it's about. The bigger your group. And start with one person. Meet one more person tonight.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we go with the next question, and this also has a very important issue. The cultural districts were established to support the diversity and cultures in alignment with San Francisco's Equity Plan. District 9 includes 2 districts, the American Indian Cultural District and Calle 24 Latino District. Both districts intersect and support each other. What will you do to ensure both districts to preserve and protect the community and their history and cultural assets. I'm going to try to do a summary in Spanish. Dentro de este distrito 9 hay dos distritos que son muy importantes, el American Indian Cultural District y el de la calle 24, el distrito latino. Entonces la pregunta para los candidatos es cómo van a hacer para apoyarse, para apoyar mutuamente a estos distritos y para asegurarse que los dos distritos se puedan preservar y proteger a sus comunidades y la historia y la cultura que representan. Y vamos a comenzar de nuevo con H. Brown.
Could you repeat the question?
Yes, I'll repeat it. The cultural districts were established to support the diversity and cultures in alignment with San Francisco's Equity Plan. District 9 includes two districts, the American Indian Cultural District and Calle 24 Latino District. Both districts intersect and support each other. What will you do to ensure both districts to preserve and protect the community and their history and cultural assets?
I told you I'm an idea man, so I'm going to go back to the way you make yourself stronger is economically. Crazy ideas. Giving me a loan back the armory and building a casino there, that's radical. I got another one for you. Let's make the 55 empty storefronts on Mission like Amsterdam. What's in Amsterdam? When you walk down the main street, what draws in plain loads of people? Legal sex. Folks, sex has been around as long as we've been around, and we wouldn't be around. So I say that we legalize sex in San Francisco. I say that we legalize gambling, and I say that we give the Indians back some of the land instead of just talking about it.
This question is really important to me, having served in the Cultural District program. These are two incredibly important cultural districts. I want to thank, first of all, Supervisors Ronan and Campos for having initiated legislation that created the cultural districts and formalized them in the administrative code, but also recognize that this was built upon activism by the proto-cultural districts like Japantown and Soma Filipinas and Calle 24. And how we strengthen them and make them more important is that we strengthen them at the city level. A lot of people don't realize that these cultural districts don't hold a lot of power. And the reason why is because we were specifically legislated that way. There's multiple ways that we can talk about doing this, but we have to do so by consulting the cultural districts themselves. You have to give the community self-determination and autonomy here. You just don't parachute in or project things onto these cultural districts. You listen to them, and that will inform how we should move forward to strengthen them.
This question is tremendously important in this year. I think, as a Hidatsa Lakota Mexican-American woman, I want to see the cultural districts thrive. And I don't think a lot of people may be aware that there is an active campaign to undermine the cultural districts by groups like Grow SF, Together SF, these groups who do not understand the history and the cultural legacy of these cultural districts, of the people in here. The purpose of the cultural districts is to preserve that legacy, to make sure that the people who have been here can stay here. I'm in touch with the Ramay Toshaloni, Greg Castro, Jonathan Cordero to talk about what it would look like to repatriate Ramay Toshaloni relationships with this land. And I will fight to continue to fund the cultural districts. Right now, the mayor's budget has left a $15 million gap for a lot of the organizations that serve the Latino community, so we all need to email the mayor, the city supervisors to make sure to fight and close that gap and continue to raise our support for them because they are under attack.
I'm very proud to be the co-founder of Calle 24 Cultural District. I'm also very proud to stand before you to share with you that I was in full support of the American Indian culture set being developed. So I don't have to learn this. I don't have to figure this out. I know what worked and what needs to be invested and how the city really limited and made sure they limited the capacity of the growth of our cultural districts. Furthermore, I have been working since the pandemic with the Friendship House and our Native American brothers and sisters. We've created a 5-year plan that deals with housing, that deals with small business development, that deals with climate change, green zone, and taking care of our community and going back to our indigenous ways of living. I have not started yesterday. I don't have an idea. We've done it.
Sweet. You could have said it better. Well, backing off what Roberto just said, because he just told the truth to everybody, is basically if one of us gets to the board of supervisors, finally having a voice at the table. And we day in and day out, we have shirts, signs, and our sayings every single day, every single weekend, going to City Hall, being like, we need this, just for them to be like, we'll think about it, and do a whole press thing about, oh, we just did this. We're finally going to have someone at the table actively promoting what we need in our community. And that's what this community is lacking, of what the more, not niche, but the more undermined communities, because it always seems that it's always the richer people that get what they want here in District 9. And it's already irritating to a lot of people. And it's feeling to the point where that's why the reason people are leaving to other communities, leaving to the East Bay, because they have more freedom. But I want to bring that freedom that they seek to be here, to finally have a voice at the table. Thank you.
Okay, so my ideas behind this have to do with subsidizing nonprofits, or pushing for nonprofit participation. So all the nonprofits that are putting this on, especially in my mind, the street vendors in the Mission that were pushed out of their selling spaces and put into a generic place where nothing was really happening, and now they're stuck in a corner, and it's still not happening for them. So how about just letting them go back? I know they're going to test that, but these people paid for licenses. So, this promotes our Latinismo, in more ways than one, and we need to continue preserving this at all costs. Thank you.
You started the conversation for our next question that was presented by the Mission Street Vendor Association. You know that this is also a very, very important issue in this district and in this area specifically that we're at. And the question says, in Spanish first, ¿apoyas nuestra misión y causa? Si fueras supervisor, ¿te asegurarías de que conservemos nuestro derecho a vender? So the translation would be, if you support the mission of the Mission Street Vendor Association and the cause, and if you were to become supervisors, if you will make sure that they could have the right to sell their products on the streets.
Well, I guess I already started to answer that. Absolutely, I do support their right. Also, continuing along with bringing, thinking outside the box, having pop-up events, having night events. The city puts on these events for other neighborhoods. Why not our neighborhood? Why not our district? Because not only is our district the Mission, but it's also Bernal, it's also Portla, and there are Latinos in Portla, there are Latinos in Bernal. There are other cultures up there too that we can promote. So again, thinking outside the box to make things like that happen. We can do that. We have the power. Thank you.
My name is Julian Ramirez. Yes, I support your cause. You already know. I'm a businessman. I'm a small businessman. I work at Rancho Grande Appliances. Echar la pila para ganar la lana, you know what I mean? And it's weird to say, but I'm pro-business and I'm proud of it. All right, and that's going to be controversial to say here in San Francisco, but small business, even to the vendors, it means a lot to us Latinos because that's how we go through our day. I grew up just going to work and doing what you gotta do, but it comes to a point where you gotta speak up. And little by little, it starts with the street vendors, and then it goes to the small businesses, and then everybody gets kicked out. In New York, they kind of did the same thing of the vendor ban, and they ended up banning everything to the point where nobody started having permits, and then they cut everything off. And I feel like that's what they might be doing here in San Francisco. And it's time to have a seat at the table. Thank you.
Cuando yo era chiquito, mi mamá taught me how to grow flowers. She taught me how to grow mint. So I used to go out on the street and sell flowers, and I used to sell mint. Then I was a shoe shine boy, and then I was a newspaper boy. So I know what it is, street vend. That's part of our cultura. It's part of our culture. And having been raised and born here, I think it's really unfair what's going on today. But I'll tell you something, this ain't the first rodeo. They did that many years ago. And we fought and we won. And that's how La Cocina got started. You know what I'm talking about? La Cocina. Then it happened again, decades later. You know, BART kicked everybody off the BART plazas. And what do? We supported our vendors and we started, what was the name of it, Susana? MISPA. We started MISPA, we empowered them, and they took charge. And that's what we got to do today, is support our vendors so that they can have the right to do what's part of our culture.
First off, I want to thank Sofia, who is a vendor herself. Gracias a usted por su lucha por los vendedores. Vending is the backbone of our economic and cultural legacy here in the Mission and across Latin America. I've talked to vendors, I've been at El Piangue, La Placita multiple times, and I've had long communications with the vendors, and I think that we can bring them back to Mission Street in a very organized fashion. We need to make sure that the vendors, that public works employees, that community-based organizations, we are all on the same plan, and God forbid, Trump is elected in November, I am very concerned about the police and their ability to criminalize vendors. And so we need to be very careful, and I promise you, as supervisor, I will look for the devils in the details that are trying to make this into a xenophobic criminalization of our most vulnerable people in our neighborhood. And we can do what it takes to make sure that our vendors come back. Thank you.
What my colleagues have shared is true. They are systematically trying to get rid of our culture through the removal of these vendors. As the vendors know, I was one of the first to come to speak in support of you. I stand by that. I also recognize that they have made this near impossible for it to exist. And so therefore, as a supervisor, you have to hold the direct chief accountable to this end. They set it up for disaster. They didn't train the city employees who were overlooking the vendors, who were supposed to guarantee their safety. They didn't do any of this. So if we're going to move forward, we need to have implementations that make sense, that guarantee the safety of these workers, that have trained city employees, that we can have vendors who represent our culture, the richness and vibrancy of our neighborhood, who can operate safely without fear of being turned into immigration or being thrown in the county jail.
My dog and I prepared a place for vendors that's something like 2,000 feet long, sidewalk about 50 feet wide. I live at 14th and Valencia, and I look out my window and I saw all of that scaffolding all around the armory. For 2 years, I sued them and fought them. Last month, suddenly the planning said, Mr. Brown, your complaint is confirmed, and we're going to charge the owner of the armory $2,000 for our inspection. And if he doesn't get rid of it, $1,000 a day. 3 days later, the fencing was gone. It opened up a couple of thousand feet of sidewalk there. We tried that, Hillary tried that in the back there with vendors for free vending, and it was fabulous as a customer, but the neighbors went crazy on the parking. It was a mess. Now they've cleared it. They've got a couple of thousand feet. You could put vendors all the way around the armory, and it would tie right into the little flea market where I've been shopping for as long as it's been there.
Okay, so we have completed the first part of the answers that have been given by community organizations and the organizers of this event. And now we're going to move to the questions from the audience. But before that, as a moderator, I would like to ask a second question about street vendors, because I believe this issue has been a very, very important issue in this district and in the Latino community. So if you were to become supervisors, how will you make sure that street vendors can continue doing their business, but at the same time, they do not get the blame for the selling of illegal products and the selling of drugs? Sometimes this has gone too far to blame street vendors in the mission for dealing drugs, for the crisis of fentanyl. So how will you do to make sure that they still can have their survival? And I'm gonna just ask this in Spanish. Muchas veces los vendedores ambulantes de la misión han sido culpados por la crisis de la venta de productos ilegales en las calles de la misión, incluso por la venta de drogas, incluso en parte por la crisis del fentanilo en esta zona. ¿Cómo van a hacer ustedes si llegan a ser supervisores para asegurarse de que los vendedores ambulantes continúen vendiendo sus productos de manera legal, de manera correcta, y al mismo tiempo luchar en contra de la venta ilegal de productos y de la venta de droga en las calles, que ha creado un nivel de inseguridad terrible para los residentes de este distrito? And we're going to start with you.
Jaime Gutierrez, I think that I would probably push for some sort of a commission that would be made up of the police. They would have a task force to deal with street vending, and also the DPW. They would be part of this task force, and also somebody like somebody from the street vendors themselves. Somebody like my friend Rodrigo over there, who would be part of it as well, to bring the parties to the table. Because a lot of this stuff is done haphazardly. So if somebody has a bright idea and they go with that idea, and then it isn't until everything's gone haywire that something's done. That's what happens a lot in the city. And I'm interested in putting a halt to that. And again, thinking outside the box, doing something different for the greater good. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Julian Ramirez. My main goal is to try to create, I guess, like a commissioner committee, but you could already see it with the Mission Vendors Association, for them to have their own permitting system. I believe that self-policing is the best policing. We gotta prevent instead of correct. So if everybody in that vending association knows that person is a vendor, we'll have some self-policing, some self-government. And we could turn this vendor association into a union type deal where they elect, well, they already do elect their own president, et cetera, but giving them more power over who sells and what they can sell. And if the police have an issue, they have a direct person to call, hey, is this person legally selling? And they'll be like, no, or yes, and then they can take action. It's that one-on-one intermediary that we lack. That it always seems that we just throw a police at it and somehow it will get solved. That's not how things get solved. It gets solved with in-house, in-person, and we got this.
I would bring together the residents, the merchants, the vendors, our cultural associations, and all the city departments. Because from my experience is that everybody points the finger. DPW points it at the Department of Public Health. The Department of Public Health says that's not my problem. That should be the police department. The police department blames BART, and it goes on. I've been in these meetings. Some of you have been in these meetings, right? Remember those meetings? They all blame each other, right? It's the blame game, and nothing gets done. So it's about bringing everybody into the room and starting from ground up and creating a plan that we can all coexist and all agree. Because we see what the temporary Band-Aids have done, have resulted in nothing. You saw when the fence went up, right? Did that solve it? No, it didn't. You saw when the barricades went up. Did that solve it? No. Thank you.
So the supervisors have several powers. They coordinate the budget with the mayor, they can call for hearings, they can legislate. What we can't do is enact state law. And just this week, there is a bill introduced to open the world of enforcing the ban using just police. Right now, it's police plus public works employees. And this looks like a step in the right direction, but I'm very concerned about the actual implementation. There's a list of goods that if this were to pass, the supervisors need to approve. And so whatever happens, community-based organizations, the vendors need a voice and need to be kept along at every single point in this process. I think it did not have to get to this point. Every single person who is a part of the Mr. Vendors Association, who is not, but who is permitted, should be a part of however it looks going forward. And I promise you, day one, we will be planning a hearing on how this pilot to bring back the vendors is going and make sure our people are not criminalized.
Like I said, it's about the city administration, consecutive administrations undermining and systematically eradicating the culture from our community. In order for us to move forward, we need to make sure that we have a coordinated plan. It needs to be informed by the community. We need to have safe selling spaces for vendors. The vendors need to inform how this is implemented. It requires coordination between the Department of Public Works, Department of Public Health, with the police department. This all lies with the mayor's administration. We know what happens when communities are destabilized, but if we have a plan, if we have spaces that are allocated, not just tucked away behind the BART station, but perhaps at the BART station or on the street itself, and it's informed by the vendors themselves, then I think we're taking a step in the right direction.
Again, on this one, no new ideas, just don't reinvent the wheel. I mean, do what every flea market in the world does, you assign spaces. You can assign spaces around my mint that I've adopted, or my armory I've adopted there. You could get 100 spaces that were 10 or 15 feet wide and 20 feet deep in there. Assign them to people. It works on indoor flea markets, it works on, assign the space and the people will police it themselves, believe me.
Okay, so now we're gonna start with some of the questions that you have submitted here in the community. And the first one says, how are you planning to raise awareness and safeguard resources and equitable investment for the Latino community? And we start with.
What was the, say that again?
How are you planning to raise awareness and safeguard resources for the Latino community?
Okay, the way to safeguard the resources would be to advertise them as such. You know, advertise them on buses, advertise them on TV, and let people know that, hey, if you want to receive a subsidy, if you want to get a job with the city, then these types of things are going to happen here. And that's where they're going to do it. Also in schools, if people are taking classes, if they're taking welding classes at City College, then they need to know this is where you need to go to get a job, to be a welder. and hopefully it's a union job to be a welder, so the unions have to get involved as well. Thank you.
My name is Julian Ramirez, and one way to raise awareness is, just like I said before, is to finally have a voice at the table, and continuously fighting for that voice at the table. We finally have a good slate of Latino candidates instead of just having white candidates, you know, and I'm actually pretty proud to stand in front of here with other Latino candidates trying to take our community back. And something like this actively promotes to people that the Latino voice is important. We just need to speak louder, and we have been speaking louder. And, yeah, thank you.
Building assets. We've done that. And we've done it very good, successfully. Good Samaritan Center has done it. Mission Neighborhood Centers has done it. Mission Housing Development Corporation has done it. And I can go on to the number of community organizations that have built, you know, assets in our community. The problem is that these assets that we have get limited. There's a ceiling. And we really don't have an investment as a community to secure the future and plan 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. We've been put on this year-to-year budget system that prevents us from really planning and making an investment in each and every one of our children, our youth, and our families, and our seniors.
As I mentioned before, not a lot of people know, but our cultural districts are under attack. And they have been in the back rooms of politicians for a long time. The decades of real estate developer policies and corporate interests dictating who gets housing, what kind of housing gets built, etc. But, you know, for example, in our budget, our mayor's budget, we have given, at this point, the mayor's trying to give at least $25 million more to the police, at least $30 million more to the sheriff, and that has resulted in a lot of different community organizations having to tighten their belts. Right now, there's a $15 million gap. I personally asked Supervisors Peskin and Chan, who are on the budget committee, Chan is the head of it, to please help us close this gap, because whatever we invest in the community is also saved through law enforcement resources, etc., and services. We need to invest in a public bank, which I've worked on for a long time. And lastly, we need to invest in our youth. That is our biggest cultural asset. They are struggling post-pandemic, preventing school closures, making sure we're preventing mental health, all the youth services that go on this, and that's it. Thank you.
As supervisors, so much of this is tied to advocacy and holding the mayor accountable, and this is what happens when the mayor's budget is introduced, is the supervisors have to hold the mayor's plan accountable. If it is being reallocated lopsided towards law enforcement, that's where they need to call that out, and that is something that I would commit to doing. We need to center our community. We need to make sure that our resources are allocated for our community. Otherwise, our community will continue to disappear. So to you, I commit that I will continue to advocate for this community on your behalf as your representative, and hold the mayor's administration accountable, but also departments as well.
Give your money. That's what the rich people do. It doesn't take an awful lot. I make $1,370 a month. The government pays $3,000 on my rent, so I have about $375 a month to spend left. I give $50 to Mission Local. I give $36 to Manny's, I give $2.75 to Wikipedia and $20 to Katie Porter or whatever candidate happens to be rocking at the time. But support these groups that gave us this wonderful conference here, and give to the media, because that's projecting and multiplying your voice.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. We're going good with time, and apparently we have 3 more questions from the audience, and we're going to go next with this one. That's also a very important issue. Why should District 9 immigrants community support you as supervisors if you were to become the next supervisor? And this person is asked for you to give specific examples, not just generic ones. And we go with H. Brown.
I want to make a walk down Mission in those 55 empty storefronts that will walk through Amsterdam. You're going to have a real mix there. You're going to have brothels. You're going to have a big Indian casino running down at the Armory. You're going to have foot patrols with cop boxes at 16th and 24th and Mission. We had them when Feinstein was there. I don't see why we can't have them now. But you make money and you stick together. My last wife got an invitation, real fancy, and she was a Turk. And she said, she threw it away, and she said, I took it out of the trash, and I said, what is this? She said, it's from them. It was from 500 years ago when the Jews were thrown out of Spain by Ferdinand and Isabella. They kept contact with each other for 500 years, and they were having a party. So y'all keep contact with each other.
I ask for your support. I don't presume to have it. The reason why I say that is because I come from a family of immigrants. They don't give their support lightly. It's for people who are going to fight on their behalf. In terms of a hard example of what I have done before, during lockdown, I worked with the Latino Task Force and the Cultural District Program to provide testing and vaccinations for mostly because the Mission Hub was getting completely annihilated by so many people coming from outside the district because they were trying to provide services for people here. So I worked with them to open another site, also because so many workers that I work with in the nightlife and service industry have no resources, and they had to keep going to work, and they had to keep their families safe. So we had to open a site so where they could test on the way to work that it was convenient, and they could keep their families safe and keep working even though they should have been able to stay home.
My grandparents came here from Monterrey, Mexico. My grandpa was an orange picker. That was his first job here in the U.S. My grandmother was a homemaker. It is due to their path of citizenship that I am here today, and that is why I'm really concerned about the news today and why I will keep talking about the 900 plus person wait list. We didn't even see this 10 years ago with unaccompanied minors, and there is no extra budget for immigration legal defense. Our community ambassadors are at risk of being cut. These community ambassadors have paid out of their own pockets to house immigrant families who are sleeping in bus shelters and on playgrounds because there's nowhere else to go in this city. And so I think investing in legal services, investing in bringing back our community ambassadors and tripling them to connect people to services, to housing, to treatment. Bottom line, we cannot say we are a sanctuary city as long as our immigrant families are sleeping on the streets, as long as there are 2,300 homeless SFUSD students and hundreds of newcomer students with nowhere to rest their heads. So as supervisor, I will fight for housing our homeless immigrant families, legal defense, and of course our community ambassadors. Thank you.
During the pandemic, I started the Mission Food Hub out of my garage with my wife, my Yana, who's in the back. Thank you to my wife and my family. And we just thought it was going to be something short, and it wasn't. And we moved out of my garage. We moved into 701 Alabama, Mission Vocational Language and Vocational School. Out of there, we started the Latino Task Force. We provided over 9,000 families groceries every week, and it was fresh, culturally appropriate groceries. And I did that intentionally, number one. Number two, we provided services, we provided vaccines, we provided, every kind of service when people came to us. The majority were immigrants. And one of the things that I learned during that time, that there was over 3,000 people who were cash workers. Cash workers have no unemployment, have no social security, have no retirement, have absolutely no benefits at all. And so during that time, collectively as a community, we fought for the rights of those immigrant members of our community. And we were able to get resolutions through the Board of Supervisors. We were able to get services for our community. And I would know, having that experience today and knowing how immigrants are affected, I will use that knowledge and skills to be able to elevate the needs of our immigrant communities. Thank you.
I'm Julian Bermudez, and why District 9 immigrants should support me is because I'm a first generation mission born. Kid. Anyways, my grandpa and my dad escaped the tyrannical government in Nicaragua in the 70s and ended up here in San Francisco. And they worked every single day to give me the life that I have the privilege to live, so I can be up here fooling around and trying to be here in the Board of Supervisors. And if I really want to make my grandpa and my parents proud, I'll do the best that I can. Even though every single day I go through adversity, from the color of my skin to my last name, because that last name is a barrier. Being from the mission, I went to St. Peter's, went to Bearden. I didn't go to St. Ignatius, I didn't go to top school. But I'm still out here trying to do my best. And that's what I'm trying to make every immigrant to know, that you can do your best. I am here as a visual representation, as a product of what you can give.
Jaime Gutierrez. Mi gente son del Salvador. My grandmother came in 1941. She was a union worker. She was a Rosie the Riveter. She worked for Coast Envelope Company. She bought her house for $23,000 in 1962. In 62, my mother came, and she was a laundry woman at the St. Francis Hotel. She met my father, and he was a laundry man. They were union people. My grandmother gave me a work ethic like nobody's business. She kicked my butt like nobody's business. She was a bag of nails, but I loved her. That's the bottom line. She wanted me to be a good boy. That was her dying wish. And I believe that I've held that up. And I believe that immigrant families should be the first in line to get any sort of housing that comes from the city. The second in line would be people that are from unions. They should be subsidized for their housing, and to keep them here, because we've got to keep the wheels of the city turning, and the hardest workers are immigrant families. At least that's my experience, and I'm going to stick with that. Thanks.
All right, so we're going to almost the last two questions, and this one says, what have you done for the people of the mission for the last 10 years? And you go first.
Okay. What I've done for the people of the mission the last 10 years is I was a muni bus driver. Before that, I was a cab driver. So I've taken people around on bus lines. I've talked to people. I've helped people. I've actually saved people's lives. And that's what I do now. That's my job. I work for the SFMTA. I build out resources when people call. In the last couple of days, people have been stabbed on the bus. a person with a child stabbed another person and left them for dead on the bus. So I'm out there saving lives on a daily basis. I think that Roberto mentioned Friendship House. I've been to Friendship House more than once to help people there. There they help people in more ways than one, and I've been of service to those people, and I'm very proud of that. So the things that I do in my life are based on service. Like I started saying way back, is I'm here to help, and I'll leave it with that. Thank you.
My name is Julian Maritas. First things first is providing appliances to the city of San Francisco and especially the Mission District and District 9 for the last 30 years. Being part of the community in the service industry like that, it gives you a different perspective of everything. But one thing is for sure is that I stayed out of trouble. And it always seems, not sure if you guys remember the 2010s, but it was a hard time to be a brown Latino in walking down the street because you're not sure if a cop or a gang member is gonna. Exactly. And that's getting a little nervous here because it touches me, but it's just staying out of trouble, doing exactly what's right. Educating myself so at one point when I'm here on the stage with the microphone, I say the right things to make sure my community gets better. It's a struggle that got me here, huh?
And to my two brothers, me too. You know what I shared earlier about my recovery. I running around the streets, street life. You just get caught up in it. And so the last 10 years, I continued to doing what was given to me, the gift of recovery. I take people who are alcoholics, drug addicts. Thanks to my wife, even sometimes we bring them home and we help them heal. At our home, we stay 20 days, 30 days, whatever amount it takes. We get them into programs. I go to prison to go visit prisoners to help them. That's what I do personally on my own time, But in my community work, I work with probably the majority of you in this room, and we collaborate and we work together. And for me, that's the most beautiful thing is that we collectively, in the last 10 years, have done some tremendous amount of work. It's been a struggle. We've had our differences, but we've always have been able to pull through together. And for me, the pandemic, I really seen what the strength of us work together was so beautiful. Thank you.
10 years ago, I was an undergraduate at Stanford. My mom, growing up in South Central LA, she always told me that she believed that I could go far, I could get into the best college. She, like I said, was a single mother, was told by her high school counselor that the best she could ever amount to was a secretary, and she did end up being a secretary, but she always made sure that I was doing my homework, was passing my classes with highest marks, and so I was studying at Stanford 10 years ago. I graduated both my bachelor's in public policy, my master's in sociology, concentration on educational inequity. After that, I was going through jobs, trying to find my place in my community. As an out person, that was a very long journey. As someone who was working in service industry, between nonprofit jobs, housing insecure, sleeping in my van, I have always tried to become back to the Mission District, where I feel the most seen, where I feel the most accepted. In 2020, I was fighting who no one else would fight, Scott Wiener, the most real estate-backed politician in California, who has led to so much displacement and gentrification right here. And in this past year, I've been in dozens of community meetings, all the way across this district and in this neighborhood. Thank you.
For the past 10 years, I've been your friend and your neighbor. I've sold you plants and flower crops so I could help you build a garden so you could have some food, some beauty. I've served on the Entertainment Commission to make sure our vibrant nightlife remains a part of the mission, that we have sustainable businesses, that they're not going to get evicted to help commercial tenants stay in the mission. I talked about, working with Latino Task Force, Calle 24, the American Indian Cultural District. I served in the cultural district program in a holistic way, not just to uplift one cultural district, but all of us, especially the ones here in the mission, to make sure that resources that were dedicated for District 9 remain in District 9, for the work that Roberto has done and everyone was doing at LTF. Also, I want to say, I tried to help what I could at the Galeria de la Raza. Let's talk about that a little bit. When the Galeria de la Raza was on fire, not a lot of people showed up for that. And I know people have told me, you shouldn't talk too much about how you're queer. Well, I'm queer, and a lot of people didn't show up for the Galeria. And I want to say thank you to Ani and everyone there, because they are keeping our culture alive too.
I taught the gangster kids from the Mission and Potrero and Treasure Island Potrero Middle School for a couple of years. What I've done mostly, my biggest value is in my writing. You want to read what I write, take a picture of this Q code. That's the only campaign thing I'll have for the entire campaign, but it's behind it is a website with thousands of pictures of the mission, 700 and something columns and all that. The biggest thing that you have to remember about the border, and that nobody wants to mention, is that the reason that people are leaving the paradise of South America and the beautiful fertile lands is because the United States created dictatorships down there. We killed democratically elected leaders. It's our fault. These are our children coming home in groups. I don't believe in any borders at all.
Okay, so we're almost getting to the last of our questions. And this one says, in the case that you were to become supervisor, after your supervisor term is complete, how will you continue to support District 9? And let's go back to it.
Well, we're not sure I'm going to be alive, are we? I mean, I'm 80. How old is the president? I make a joke at the VA. I said, how come everybody out here walks like the president? No, I'm out here to get my ideas out. And a big idea I'm pushing for all of the community, for security for the Latino community, is push the candidates running for mayor to support electing a police chief. You get a police chief who's elected, and you won't get a bunch of Irish captains at Mission Station, which is insane. Thank you. Oh, thank you all very much. And remember, meet one other person here.
I will continue to do the work that I've been doing. I'll continue to support our small businesses, our nightlife industry. You'll probably see me picking up trash out of the rain gardens at Valencia and Mission like I do. Probably see me planting things, talking about swales and wetlands and what we should be doing to mitigate climate change. I mean, I will be continuing to work on behalf of the district that I've lived in for so long and work alongside you. That's how I'll continue to support the district, should I be successful enough to represent you. That's what I look forward to doing after I'm done.
Well, truth be told, the way that things are going in San Francisco, if I'm elected, in 4 years I will probably be facing a recall by the conservative forces and billionaires that want to sack everything that our progressive folks have fought for. But I will continue to fight for housing first for the homeless, real treatment on demand, housing 2,300 homeless SFUSD students, putting our money where our mouth is, investing in affordable housing, establish the first municipal public bank in the country, fighting for our youth, for mental health services, fighting against school closures, fighting for true teacher pay, fighting to staff up our city to address all of our different crises, and fighting for environmental justice. Thank you.
Born and raised here, and after I'll go back to lowriding. I will go back to visiting people in prison. I will go back to